Very excited and honored to be talking with you today about philanthropy. I want to start with a question. What if one of the most powerful ways to build your resume wasn't a class, internship, or job? What if it was something most people think of as optional or extra? Today, we're going to talk about philanthropy and why it might be one of the most overlooked career accelerators available to you right now. By the end of this talk, you'll understand what philanthropy really is, how it opens doors, and why employers value it more than you might expect. When most people hear the word philanthropy, they think about a wealthy donor writing large checks. But that's only one piece of the picture. The word itself means love of humanity. And in practice, philanthropy includes giving time, sharing skills, leading initiatives, supporting causes, and creating impact. Think about a time that you volunteered. Was it recently or years ago? What were your feelings in that moment and in reflection? And feel free to post in the chat where you volunteered, maybe an organization that's close to your heart, and how the volunteerism made you feel. As you ponder this, I'd like to establish a baseline on volunteerism in America at this time. Data released by AmeriCorps and the U.S. Census Bureau late in 2024 shows formal volunteerism rates are recovering from pandemic lows, showing a 22% growth rate in 2 years. So roughly 1 in 4 Americans have volunteered. While this is growth, I would contend we could and should do better. An area that remains strong is informal helping. Over half, or 54% of Americans, or 130 million people, engaged in informal volunteering, such as helping neighbors with errands or chores between September of 2022 and 2023. In my employment over the last 32 years, I've had to organize volunteers and raise money for my employer. I have always found the value of volunteer time statistic to be of particular interest. The independent sector, in collaboration with the Do Good Institute, calculated the value of a volunteer hour in 2025 to be $36.14, based on the 2024 Bureau of Labor Statistics. If you analyze that, it's equivalent to a salary of over $70,000. And the point I want to make on this is that volunteers are valuable. So if you've ever volunteered, organized something, or helped a cause, you've already participated in philanthropy. Statistically, 25% of you have formally done it, 50% have done it informally, and you can bet the organization or individual that you were helping was appreciative of your efforts. Philanthropy fills gaps to address things that systems always cannot, like education access, disaster relief, and community development. But here's what's often overlooked. Philanthropy doesn't just change communities, it changes the people involved in it. Research consistently shows that philanthropy and volunteering positively affect both mental and physical health. In my research, I found several healthcare and educational entities that cited a study in 2023 from the Journal of Happiness that people who volunteer regularly report higher life satisfaction and lower levels of depression than non-volunteers. The Mayo Clinic has also noted that volunteering can reduce stress, combat loneliness, increase sense of purpose, and improve emotional well-being. In fact, adults who volunteer at least 100 hours annually are statistically more likely to report excellent or very good health compared to those who don't volunteer. Another longitudinal study came from Carnegie Mellon University, and they found that adults over the age of 50 who volunteered regularly were significantly less likely to develop high blood pressure, one of the leading risk factors for heart disease and stroke. So philanthropy doesn't just help them or others, it changes you physiologically, emotionally, and psychologically. Studies show that over 90% of volunteers report gaining a better understanding of social issues, and nearly all say that they feel that they've made a difference. Personally, no matter how chaotic my life has been, I've never said that was a waste of my time. Whether it was this past weekend when I was at a local cemetery volunteering to honor the sacrifice of those that gave their lives for the love of our country and freedom, bell ringing for the Salvation Army this past winter, mowing a lawn for serving our seniors, or taking some scouts on a weekend adventure. That sense of perspective has been incredibly valuable and empowering for me. And when a 100-plus-year-old organization like Rotary International, which was formed as a fellowship and networking club in Chicago, Illinois, adopts the motto service above self officially in 1989, you know there's got to be a hook as to the positive attributes of philanthropy. If you are unaware of this organization, it has over 1.5 million members across the globe and is considered the premier service and humanitarian organization worldwide. Let's take a look at a couple other additional cases on how volunteering makes a significant impact. And we're going to localize this utilizing Contra Costa County and across California. In 2020, during the devastating wildfire season across Northern California, philanthropy and volunteerism played a critical role in helping communities respond and recover. While emergency agencies worked to mobilize large-scale resources, nonprofits and volunteers delivered food and water and emergency supplies, assisted evacuees and vulnerable residents, and supported recovery and cleanup efforts. Organizations like Team Rubicon and local community volunteer networks were able to respond quickly because ordinary people stepped forward to help. Many of these volunteers had no prior disaster response experience. They received a basic training, they organized rapidly, and served communities in crisis. For many participants, that experience became a turning point personally and professionally, building leadership, teamwork, resilience, and a deeper connection to their communities. Next, right here in Contra Costa County, the food bank of Contra Costa and Solano serves as a powerful example of philanthropy in action. Their mission is simple but critical: fight hunger across local communities. Each year, they distribute millions of pounds of food through neighborhood pantries, school programs, shelters, and community partners. But here's what matters for this presentation. Many of the people making that impact are volunteers. They could be students, professionals, retirees, living in the community and in your neighborhoods. So when someone shows up to sort donations, pack food boxes, or support distribution events, they're not just volunteering. They're becoming part of a coordinated system solving real, large-scale community problems. That kind of exposure changes how you think about leadership and impact. Another quick story to alter your mind a little bit about leadership and impact. The picture on the slide is a coral restoration project that's being led in the Florida Keys by the Florida Sea Base, which is part of Scouting America. Each year, 12,000 scouts from across the country travel to this sea base to do scuba, snorkeling, sailing, and have fun in the Keys in a huge aquatic adventure. And they get the experience of helping revitalize the coral reefs in Florida, one coral pupa at a time. Sorry. Here's where this becomes practical for you. Philanthropy puts you in rooms you otherwise wouldn't enter: community boards, fundraising events, leadership committees, service organizations. In those environments, your title matters less and your contribution matters more. It's one of the few places where opportunities such as leading a project, managing real responsibilities, and working alongside other experienced professionals are extended and needed. Philanthropy accelerates access. Here's where I'd like to insert a personal story about my college experience. In the fall of 1994, I was elected Student Senate Treasurer. I ran because I knew I'd be responsible for the distribution of over $400,000 in student funds. I wanted to assure that my club rugby team would receive funds necessary for uniforms and field equipment. What I never realized or even fantasized was what would take place for me that fall at the university when I was asked to be the student representative. I attended a small school, and coincidentally, the board met during a home football game. The student senate president was an offensive lineman, and the VP was a cheerleader. They were committed to the game, and I got called up to serve. What an incredible day. I was in a room with U.S. Senator John Glenn, the first American to orbit the Earth, and at his side, a truly wonderful, kind, and intelligent partner, his wife, Annie. Although now both passed, at the time, the Glenns were an Ohioan power couple. After introductions, I took my assigned seat next to Al Warren. He was the volunteer board chair of Muskingum University. I found out by day he was an executive, an automobile executive from Michigan who negotiated on behalf of management when the unions in Detroit would want to do labor negotiations. He also was on the team that formed the Saturn car program. In his volunteer life, Muskingum and Scouting were two of his charities of choice. What could have just been a simple fill the seat and smile meeting turned into an event that I would make sure to squeeze every ounce of networking out of. I wrote Mr. Warren several times over the next 10 years, and he responded, assisting me in accomplishing my own career ambitions. The picture below is the John Glenn Memorial at Turks and Caicos, where I was lucky enough to vacation a couple years. And so I grabbed this picture of them memorializing Glenn and the Friendship 7 capsule that landed right after the Caribbean Sea, or right outside the Caribbean Sea. At this time, you might be creating an image in your head about me. You could be thinking this guy is either making the most of his opportunities, or you could be thinking that I'm a bit sharky. I want to tell you at times networking can feel transactional, like you're trying to get something. But philanthropy flips that dynamic. Instead of connecting over what you can do for me, you connect over what we're doing together. That creates stronger, more authentic relationships. Research shows that over 80% of hiring managers view volunteer experience favorably, and many say it influences their hiring decisions. So these aren't just connections, they're opportunities. Let's consider this example. You are volunteering at a local not-for-profit fundraising event and assigned to check in guests. Your current company or a firm you want to be employed by has sponsored a table filled with their management executives. These businesses both have highly coveted careers that you're interested in. You begin a conversation not about a job, but about the mission you both are presently supporting. That connection turns into a follow-up coffee, an interview opportunity, eventually a job offer. This happens more often than you think because shared purpose builds trust faster than transactional networking. Let's talk about where philanthropy really stands out. In volunteer or a philanthropic setting, you develop leadership. You take initiative, guide others, make decisions. Communication. You're persuading, presenting, and working with different audiences. Project management. You plan events, manage timelines, and coordinate people. And emotional intelligence. You learn empathy, adaptability, and how to work with diverse groups. And importantly, these are not simulations. They are real experiences. Volunteer environments are essentially leadership laboratories. There's another hidden benefit here. Skill development through service also strengthens mental resilience. According to research from United Healthcare Group's Doing Good is Good for You report, 76% of volunteers said volunteering made them feel healthier. 78% reported lower stress levels. 94% said volunteering improved their mood. 96% said it enriched their sense of purpose. And purpose matters. Researchers at both Harvard and Stanford have linked strong sense of purpose with higher motivation, greater persistence, better emotional regulation, and increased career satisfaction. That means the very activities helping you build leadership skills may also be improving your long-term mental wellness and professional sustainability. An example of this comes from Habitat for Humanity. Habitat volunteers don't just build houses. They coordinate teams, manage schedules, solve real-time problems, and work with people from different backgrounds. One volunteer reported leading a build day taught them more about leadership and communication than any classroom experience. And when they interviewed for jobs, that story stood out immediately. In this picture is my daughter, and I'm really proud of her. She's a great young lady. 2 summers ago, she volunteered as a sous chef for a camp that feeds 200 to 300 participants daily. One of the many responsibilities she had during this experience was packing a smoker full of brisket for an evening dinner. 2 seasons later, she's now been employed by that same camp, cooks multiple meals through a week, and teaches others how to cook. Proud dad moment. There's one skill that stands above the rest, though, that we haven't talked about. Initiative. In school or work, you're often told what to do. In philanthropy, no one is requiring you to show up. Stephen Covey defines initiative within Habit 1, Be Proactive, from his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, as taking responsibility for your life and actions rather than being a product of circumstance. Proactive individuals make things happen by focusing on their circle of influence, what they can control, instead of the circle of concern. So when you volunteer, it sends a powerful message. You're self-motivated, you care, you take action without being asked, and that's exactly what employers are looking for. If numerous job applicants applying for the same role had similar GPAs, had similar internship experience or past work experience, but few have led a fundraising campaign that raised, let's say, $25,000 for a community cause, who stands out? I believe it is the intriguing candidate with the philanthropic background, because they can speak about strategy, leadership, results, and impact. Employers consistently say those real-world stories are what separate candidates, and philanthropy gives you those stories. When employers are looking at philanthropy on a resume, they just don't see volunteer hours. They see leadership without a title, initiative without obligation, commitment beyond self-interest. Studies show volunteering is linked to higher likelihood of leadership advancement and increased career performance. Employers are increasingly aware that community engagement correlates with healthier, more resilient employees. A Deloitte survey found that professionals who frequently volunteer are more likely to rate their workplace culture positively, more likely to report loyalty to their employer, and more likely to describe themselves as thriving personally and professionally. From a wellness perspective, social scientists often refer to volunteering as creating protective social connection. People who engage in meaningful service tend to experience lower isolation, stronger support networks, higher optimism, and greater overall life satisfaction. Those aren't just personal benefits. Those are characteristics organizations actively want in future leaders. In a competitive job market, this becomes a differentiator. Melinda Gates may have began her career in technology, but her philanthropic work became one of the most influential platforms for global change impacting health, education, and economic mobility worldwide. She once said that understanding problems at a human level is what drives meaningful solutions. Closer to reality is Tejasvi Manoj. She is now an 18-year-old who was raised in Frisco, Texas. Miss Minogue was named Time's 2025 Kid of the Year for creating Shield Seniors, a platform dedicated to teaching digital literacy and protecting older adults from cybercrime. She is the first honoree to also be a Time for Kids service star. Her motivation: she was inspired to act after her 85-year-old grandfather was targeted in a $2,000 email scam. She created Shield Seniors, which helps seniors identify and report online scams, reducing their vulnerability to digital threats. Other interesting facts about Miss Minogue is that she's an Eagle Scout, a girl who can code alumni, a pilot, and a graduate of the Mark Cuban Foundation AI Boot Camp. As a young adult, she's taught seminars, produced educational content, and worked to bridge the digital literacy gap for older generations. And if she desires to be, her act of philanthropy has become her career. And that's the heart of philanthropy. You don't have to start big, you just have to start. So, what do you do with this? I'll leave you with 3 simple challenges. Join something. Find a cause or organization that aligns with your interests. Lead something. Step up, run a project, organize an event, take ownership. Own something. Follow through and make an impact. You don't need to wait until you're successful to contribute. In many cases, contributing is what leads to your success. Philanthropy is not just about changing the world, it's one of the fastest ways to change your trajectory within it. I appreciate your time today, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Hello, everyone. If you have any questions for Dan, please post your questions on the chat. So Dan, I received one question. How would I know whether I'm good to volunteer or not?
Well, first off, you research something that you're either interested in or already know about, and then contact that organization and have a discussion about their needs. In a past seminar, I was asked a couple of interesting questions. One was about being introverted and wanting to put themselves out there, but being very timid and scared to do so. And my response to that was ask a friend that you're already comfortable with. Do it with a partner, and then you can hold each other accountable. And it'll probably be more enjoyable because you're already with one person that you like as you're getting more comfortable and get to know others. And hopefully, maybe break down that wall of introvertedness. Also, if you think about it, organizations, while they look for someone who can physically be involved with them, like the food bank to pack boxes, help with distribution, organizations also need help with behind the scenes technical stuff that might be a singular focus type of job that individuals have a high degree of skill in, where not-for-profits may not be able to afford that level of skill, but would love to have the technical experience and advisement of those individuals. Does that help answer that question?
Yes. The next question is, where do you look for opportunities to volunteer?
I would start with Google and put in some or artificial intelligence and put in some keywords that you believe in and see where it leads you.
I was able to get some volunteer opportunities also, or ideas from meetup.com in the past.
That sounds great. Where I get most of my volunteer opportunities from, I am a Rotarian, and I mentioned that earlier in the speech. And what Rotary has allowed me is to see a lot of different projects from like 1 hour volunteer projects in my community all the way to international projects. And so that sort of feeds my interest. And it's a great social network group, and it's a lot of fun while you're helping others.
The next question is, we know that volunteering is free by itself. What do you think of organizations who ask you to pay a fee to be a volunteer?
I think it's sometimes necessary. I mean, the organization I work for, Scouting America, has asked its members, its adult leaders, to pay a membership fee since inception. Um, it it all depends what the individual wants to do and how they want to engage. If you don't like that kind of engagement, then find a place, where you feel like your time is the value that you're giving, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Okay, any other questions? I know that our system has been changed, so some people are not able to see the chat, but you can send me your questions later on, and perhaps I could send it to you later on as well, Dan. And we
Happy
would
to.
like to, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Happy to answer any follow-up questions at any time.
Okay, so it's already 12:33. We would like to thank you, Dan, for sharing your time with us. I know that you're super busy and rescheduling is really an honor. And thank you so much. We have learned a lot from you. And thank you for allowing us to make use of the presentation, the copy of the presentation. I will distribute it to the participants within 24 hours.
Sounds great. Thank you for this opportunity. I hope everyone has a safe and wonderful day.
Okay,
Take care,
thank you,
y'all.
Dan.